Hi everyone, thanks for joining me in my studio today. Hope you're having a great day. This painting I've just finished using a set of brushes that I've created in Artrage 6 for watercolour. I actually started work on these about 6 months ago, and I promised as soon as that I'd finished them I would make them available, and then I just forgot all about it. I was a bit disheartened with the speed of the custom brushes in Artrage at the time. Since then, I've played around with it a lot more. I find out all of the issues I had with it, really. To be honest with you, it was all down to me not understanding how to optimize the brushes properly, which I've now done. I pretty much started from scratch, created an all new set of watercolors. These aren't a remake of the Procreate brushes I made. These are brand new brushes, lots of different effects. There's 16 brushes so far in the set. I'm hoping that I'm going to make them available in the next week or so. I might make a few more brushes yet. So anyway, let's just have a look at the video and see how they work. So this is my set of preset watercolor brushes that I've been making. So far I've got 16. I've got another one at the bottom that I might add at a later date, but I've got 16 brushes to work with. So I'm just going to move them over there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how I would typically use them. I've sort of optimized these to work on a fairly large canvas. So if I pull up my, if I go to edit, I suppose, and resize painting, you can see I've got a 5,000 pixels by 3,500 pixel canvas, which is, you know, reasonable to work with. Let's just have a quick look at what I've got on the canvas settings. The paper I've got is, in actual fact, I think it's the watercolor paper. If it's not, it is now. I've got the canvas lighting on and everything else pretty much set to standard. So let's go through the brushes. The first one I'm going to use is a wet on dry brush, and basically I'm just going to paint a bit of a landscape with a big sky, a little bit of foreground, and some poppies in, just to show you how this brush works. So this is a wet on dry paint, really, rather than paper, because the paper would be sort of wet on wet, or the paper would be wet. But if I was to sort of overpaint the colour, you can see it doesn't merge with it. Whereas if I've got another one called wet on wet, if I overpaint that, it blends with it. You can see it sort of softens in. Maybe that would work better if I chose a different colour. You see there, it picked up the blue. We're getting a bit of a green, so I don't really want that, but I'm going to put some of this oops, I didn't like that. If I choose the wet on dry, I can put sort of softer colours in, and it's overlaying it more like a glaze, but sort of putting a wet on top of a glaze. See that effect there? Might put a little bit of warmer colour in as well, just because I can. And I want sort of a yellowy colour down here. I'm going to coat the old paper just as if I was working on a watercolour painting, where I'm doing a full wet and wet thing going off. There we go. Put a bit of green in. So I'm not going to demonstrate all of these brushes today, just a few just to show you how well they work. I've optimized them as well, so they work reasonably fast as well, which I'm really pleased about. I could sort of go over this now and put a bit more colour on there. Let's go for a slightly different colour. So you notice this brush size defaults at 350%. So they are designed to work on large canvases really, and you don't have to worry about picking a brush and scaling it up all the time. And if I've sort of got some colour on here I don't want, I can dead easy just choose the eraser mode and lift a little bit of that out because I felt that was a bit much. Got a bit of a sky going off there now, so I'm quite pleased with that. Something in the foreground. That's looking good. So that's my first layer, and I'll create a second layer now. And I'm going to go into a brush that's called, if I can find it, I've made so many, multi-loaded. Now this has got sort of two colours, or well, not two colours. I've actually set it up so it varies the colour slightly, but not within too big a range. So I can sort of paint in maybe a little bit lighter than that. You can see the different colours. It's just subtle. So if I was doing this in watercolour, I would actually be dropping little bits of colour. I'd put an initial wash on and then drop a second colour into it to add a little bit of variety. And I've sort of set this up at a size that would be just about right for doing this kind of thing, putting in these distant trees or bushes. And then I'm going to go really dark and then just paint below that a little bit. And sort of brush into it. Add some darker tones underneath. And what I really like about the Artrage is I can just, when I've done this, I can choose a razor, and I'm using the same brush just to lift out. So I can sort of push this colour up into that and then erase away when I've done. So I can now just choose the erase mode, lift that out. So I've got a nice sharp edge along the bottom of my distant trees, and you can see there's a variety of colour in there, and it went in really easy. So I'm going to create another layer because watercolours is all about layers, and I've got a mop brush, so I'm going to use the glazing mop, and I'm going to try and stick towards blues really, but sort of too blue, too green. I'm thinking let's make it a bit bluer perhaps. Yeah, okay. And this mop brush sort of gives this lovely soft wetting wet effect. For some distant trees. Then I'm going to choose my rigger, which is obviously a thin brush, and I'm going to use rigger on wet. And what that does, if I choose a red colour and just put in a stroke, you'll see when it goes into the blue, if I zoom in, it's picked up that blue colour. so it kind of blends in with the colours that are already there. I sort of made that a little bit too red because I wanted to really illustrate how that works. I might have a slightly bigger brush. So I can sort of put some branches in. See, if I drag down, it picks the blue up. And just anchor that to the ground a little bit. I've got a dirty water. I don't know if this is going to work. Let's just see if I can. This is going to work or not. Might be a bit too dirty. Dirty water brush just to soften that edge. I don't know about that. Might do if I change the colour slightly. No, let's just take some of that away. Still sort of experimenting with these. So there, I've got a couple of distant trees. Happy with that. I might pop a little bit of blue. Let's choose glazing. And just pop a bit of blue into that. That's a bit big. Bit of blue in there. Oops. Right, now. I thought at this point I would create another layer. I got these trees in, and I'm going to choose a crumpled tissue. So this is like getting some tissue, screwing it up and dabbing the paper with it. And I can very quickly just sort of brush along there, look, and get an effect. Some flowers in that field. I might just go back to that actually and just switch to eraser mode very quickly. Should choose a different brush. I don't like that at all under there. Yeah, that's better. Wasn't feeling that. Okay, back to my crumpled tissue. Pick up some red. Get some texture on the foreground. So there we go. I'm liking that. Back to my wet on wet big brush. Choose some dark blue and just actually I want the wet and dry perhaps. Yeah. Just to soften that off a little bit. And now what I want is a few poppies painting on there. So I've got a mop that's opaque. Just take the size down a little bit. So this is like using gouache, I suppose. And I can paint some poppies in. So because this is all opaque, it just sort of covers up colours I've got underneath. So I could go with some black. That's a bit brown actually. Still looks a bit brown. I wonder if I need to create a new layer. Let's create a new layer. Just wondering if they're a bit too big as well, so I'm just going to shrink the brush down a bit. Too much. That's better. Put a few more flowers in. My poppy field, maybe put a big one there and possibly there, coming off the bottom of the canvas. And then I'm going to choose, I've got a glazing wet. Get some green, dark green. That should just sort of pick up the red when I paint into it and add a few darker tones. Where do you start? That's the thing. I'm going to merge all these layers down, I think, because I want to do a bit of blending and I can't do it if they're not merged. That's it. There we go. So that is it. That is a quick demo in using my new watercolor brushes, and I promise I will make them available next week. And I am thinking I might put a small cost or price on these. So what I'd really like to know is, A, would you be willing to buy them? And if so, what do you think would be a fair price? And I might make a sort of a sample set of maybe 3 brushes free. So yeah, I don't know yet. I don't know yet, but I'd like to find out what your views are. Anyway, thank you for watching this video and staying with me till the end. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, a big thumbs up as always is much appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, because I've got lots of videos like this and I would love to be sharing them with you. So hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.